Welcome everybody
Hello.
to Hey Ellie and everybody out there. Welcome,
Hello.
come on in, guys. It's Monday. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. We were just speaking with Elliot. We you hear kids in the background, music.
Yeah,
Ellie
I'm at
is.
the park.
I was like I was jealous of her, and she
Yeah,
deserves it. All the hard work, And I
thank
think we
you.
should all remember that and take some time off when we get a
Yeah.
chance, and just lay out in the park, just lay out in the grass, feel what the grass feels like. Sometimes we forget what it's like, especially all of us that live in the city. Sometimes, you know Ellie, tell us a little bit about what you did today, the
Oh,
hike, just so you
yeah, I
get
took.
us get us jealous a little bit.
Well, I mean, we bought all our school clothes here because there's no sales tax, and so that's kind of like we bring an empty suitcase and buy the school clothes. But then I hiked with my kids up Mount Jumbo, which is kind of a unique thing that they do. Sort of, I don't know if they do it in all rural states, but they do in Montana. Is there's always an initial on the mountain for whatever town you're in, and so we hiked up to the M, which is a very it's 14 switchbacks straight up. So it's a very hard hike, and but they did great. And then we came down, got a slice of bread and butter, and now we're at the park.
Bread and butter, that's my I don't know.
Yeah,
I would get more than a
good
slice
stuff.
of bread. That's good stuff. Oh man, I wish we could be speaking about this more than any, but
Yeah.
we have some stuff to talk about, and
Yes.
we're gonna get into it because we don't. I don't want to hold Ellie up too long. I'd rather her just go enjoy herself. But we have some news that we want to share with you that it's important that it is connect some of the dots, and there's more that's coming to. But first, before we get right into it, those of you that have been watching earlier today, I've joined Zev Shalev, and we were talking about the Tate brothers. Ellie, I know you've been out of pocket a
Yeah.
little bit. So I'll bring you also up to speed. For
Yep.
those of you that didn't get a chance to see it, the Tate brothers are in a county jail here, in the federal jail here in Miami. They're in isolation right now, which is probably the worst of the worst, and they deserve it. It's something wouldn't say to anybody, but these two. Not, I mean, they're not even human beings. These two animals,
Hmm.
deserve everything they're getting, and it's coming. And for those that are seeing, they're talking about Trump pardoning them or not sending them to UK, folks. I could tell you, forget about. They put Trump's not going to save their hide. They are in for something. There's over 50 charges in the
Hmm.
UK, and before they get there, they're gonna spend some time in Florida isolation during hurricane season when it's very hot and draggy. They're gonna realize it's not Dubai and it's not their Bugattis anymore, and all of that
Hmm.
flaunting, all that money they made off the backs of young girls, and it's time to pay the piper, and hopefully it's just the beginning. And I'll lead that segment into what we're going to talk about is Michael Cohen, folks. Michael
Yep.
Cohen and Donald Trump. And this is an important subject, and me and Ellie are probably two people that speak about it more than anybody on Substack. And we sometimes get a lot of flack and heat for it, especially the past 6 months, because people were saying, stop dividing the community, leave Michael Cohen alone, whatever the case is. But we were, like we always say, sometimes truth is very difficult to speak to because it upsets somebody. But we needed to keep the truth, and we need to keep telling you what was going on. And today we have some more information. But before we get into some of the information that Ellie's going to connect the dots, I want to bring Ellie and you guys up to speed. Yesterday, Michael Cohen had another show on ABC Radio, and this time on his show, and I can't tell you folks, I only listened to it because to be able to tell you what's going on, as disgusting as it is, he had Alan Dershowitz. Yes,
Hmm.
Alan Dershowitz, Ali, the guy that is all over the Epstein files, his personal
Yep.
lawyer, his criminal lawyer, the guy and I tuned in because I tuned in. I wanted to see what could he possibly speak to Dershowitz. So I mean, this is a guy, Michael Cohen, that spent. Just think about how much time he spent on this platform, asking you guys for contributions, donations, and
Hmm.
all of that, just to be able because stand for the Epstein survivors, stand for, and now he has Alan Dershowitz on there. So I'm thinking to myself, are you gonna
Yep.
ask him some question? No, no, Ellie, no. I'm
Nope.
gonna tell you, no, no. He basically gave him a layup. They spoke about Alan Dershowitz's new book that's coming out, folks. They spoke about how they both were ridiculed by the left. He spoke about how him and Alan Dershowitz were fighters for democracy, and the far, the
Hmm.
radical left went after him and went after Dershowitz. He thanked me, Ellie, and Tara Palmieri for uh, reuniting him with his
Awesome.
best friend. No, he
Awesome.
he said he said he literally said that it's been 8.5 tough years, and me and my friend, I mean, you can't make it up. I mean, this is a guy that
Oh my
after
gosh.
all the nasty things he said about him, his wife, his family, he was talking about like, and sometimes you have to watch it just to say to yourself, just as like, oh my god, I can't even believe, but yeah.
Right.
So so besides promoting Dershowitz's book, they also spoke about how Dershowitz was trying to sue CNN for defamation, and how
Lord, this man is he's such a slime ball.
yeah,
Like they can
and
have each other. They just
uh,
go off into
it,
the sunset and
it's
can have each
incredible.
other. Sorry.
It's incredible. And as I was listening to this, I'm thinking about, Michael Cohen, he's like Donald Trump. He has to be about him. So what? So, and then he brings himself, he goes to Alan Dersh, he goes, Dershowitz, just like you, I was also prosecuted, my First Amendment right. When I wrote my book, they put me in solitary confinement. I mean, I was listening to all of this and I couldn't believe it. But the interesting part to watch this all play out. I mean, I'm thinking to put a wager on Poly Market. I'm going to figure out how to do
Yeah.
that for them to start a wager. How long Michael Cohen lasts? How long the show lasts before they get taken off the air? Because I've never seen the hate that he's getting. Ellie, forget about Substack. Forget about, he goes on X and
Well,
Twitter and he posted he gets one
right.
today he got zero on one post. He got 0 likes and
Yeah.
150 like you
Oh my
can't
gosh.
even.
He just kicks himself. Like every time he opens his mouth, he kicks himself. And it's like, if you go back to Donald Trump, which he said he's reconciled with Donald Trump, then that negates everything that he wrote in his book. So what is it? Are you going to sell the book or are you going to work for Donald Trump? And as for Alan Dershowitz was both Epstein's lawyer and Donald Trump's lawyer. So he knows everything about both men. If you Google him, you can read all the articles he's written about changing the age of consent in the US to 15. He writes about how child pornography is like in the eye of the beholder as artistic expression, and we shouldn't be prosecuting people for child pornography. Like he is a disgusting sleazeball, and he threatened Virginia Giuffre into
Yep.
because she said he was one of the people she accused, and then his whole thing is like, yeah, I was getting a massage, but I kept my underpants on, which apparently makes it better. And then she accused him because he was, I have to say allegedly, but I've have had it confirmed by other survivors. She was abused by Alan Dershowitz, and he made her recant her statement. And there's literally an email in the Epstein files that
Sickening.
is dictating what she's supposed to say to recant the statement, and it's almost word for word what she ended up saying, and then she had to reiterate in her book the exact same phrase. So like she's been under threat from him. He's just a disgusting old man. Like he's never been connected to anything good. And he constantly, he does these really smarmy interviews and he goes on TikTok and he goes on like Chris Cuomo to just say that I'm a victim. I'm just constantly a
Just like
victim
Michael
and
Cohen.
everybody's after me. But just like Michael Cohen. And it's like, if you're Michael Cohen and you want to be taken seriously, even though you now have run back to Donald Trump, why would that be one of your first interviews? That is like a worst case scenario interview. I mean, it's beautiful for the rest of us who are just like trying to prove our point, but like for him, like, where is his head wanting to interview Alan Dershowitz? I don't get it.
Well, because the way him and Donald Trump think, what he's doing for Donald Trump is
Hmm.
trying to clear some of the stuff. He's playing now. He's back into the role of his fixer. You could tell
Right.
he's trying to fix the situation with the Letitia James stuff, which is, folks, it's coming.
Hmm.
I know it's not here. Breaking news didn't hit yet, but there'll be one day
Right.
we'll wake up. There'll be breaking news. Michael Cohen's in the spotlight, and he'll be out there
Hmm.
fighting, saying Letitia James, and Alvin Bragg, and all of this stuff, but they're not there right now. He's helping with this whole Epstein stuff because he has to help the
Well,
both of them, and that's why he's
yeah,
bringing it.
I
I
don't
know,
know.
I know it doesn't make sense, but remember,
It
it's
doesn't make sense
ABC.
because like is I assume, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I assume Michael Cohen is smarter than thinking that Donald Trump trusts him again. and wants to be close with him. Of course, Donald Trump doesn't want that. Donald Trump doesn't trust Michael Cohen. Nobody
Narcissist.
trusts Michael Cohen. The
Narcissist.
only reason he wants Michael Cohen around is because Michael Cohen has the goods. Like, he has the goods on Donald Trump having to do with the Epstein files. So of course he wants him in his court. But like, what's Michael Cohen thinking about that? Like, what's in it for him? Nobody trusts him. I like, you can't assume that.
I would, if I had to bet, and I'm not in the household,
Hmm.
but I would assume that his wife is not a happy camper, what he's doing. I
Yeah.
would assume his
Hmm.
kids are not happy campers. I think Michael Cohen, well, not I think, I know he's a narcissist. He's just
Hmm.
like Donald Trump, and he's on a mission. He is blinded. The fact that Donald Trump spoke to him, the fact that Donald Trump responded to his text, to him, that's the whole world. He thinks he's back in the fold. He thinks now he could talk. And now remember, now he could be himself. He doesn't have to come out and fake it
Hmm.
to all of us and pretend that he's somebody. Now he goes on the air and you hear the nasty attacks on the left and all these people that he was making millions of dollars with recently,
Hmm.
all these people that he was saving democracy, all these
Yeah.
people he was talking about going on, and now all of a sudden we're all everybody's radical, and I'm the most
Yeah.
radical left. He calls me I'm the
I know.
most radical left. you know, but now he
Fine.
became an independent, by the way, just so you know. He also, Michael Cohen
Well, he
is now
keeps switching parties. Let's be
he
honest, because
searches
he
for
said he was
every
never
day.
a Republican. He's like, I've always been a Democrat. And I'm like, no. But that's the same thing Alan Dershowitz do. Alan Dershowitz recently joined the Republican Party. So
The
it's like,
Republican
these
Party.
people, right? These people are not like politically, morally going after their values. They're going, it's a business deal. Like, it's whatever benefits them the most. They're going to go with that party. They don't care about the politics. They don't care about any of the policies or politics. They're going to go with their chums and their little circle in the club, and they're going to go off with it. But they don't know what they want politically. They
No.
don't even, I don't know.
They don't even care. They don't even care. It's all a game for them. But
No.
I want to talk to you about a little bit seriously right now because I know these guys are fools, but these
Hmm.
fools unfortunately are involved in some very serious cover up and cover up that I'm so proud to be your friend, to be your to know you, I mean the fight that you do, especially when it comes to Katie Johnson and
Hmm.
the other Jane Doe, because all the Epstein survivors, folks, deserve, to be able to go out there and they do justice and accountability. But there's some of these are 13-year-old girls that were that never got okay, they're still hiding, they're still out there, they're still Jane Does, and they and they that's something special in my heart that I know Ellie's also, and I know Katie Johnson is one of them, and we've been working
Hmm.
and talking about Katie Johnson every time we mention the Epstein files, and we keep bringing it to light because what happened to Kay Johnson and what happened transpired during a period of time is something that connects Michael Cohen, connects
Hmm.
Donald Trump, and it's something that even I wrote on my Substack is the one secret that they were going to take to their grave together, and this is the only
Hmm.
reason unites them. It's not the fact that that Donald Trump feels bad for Cohen.
Right.
It's not the fact that Cohen wants to be in Trump's good graces. The fact that they both have something that the darkest secret that's connecting the both
Yeah.
of them is Katie Johnson. And
Right.
Ellie's been doing some incredible, readings, work, keeping, her in the spotlight. I think you just had a reading right before you went on vacation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. We got
that
to
was
do. I got to do one more. Yeah.
you got one more to do. Tell us, so because I know you have. Ellie is just incredible. She has the memory because she dissects. She goes, "I love." She sent me in the morning, like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. I wake up in the morning. I see a text from Ellie, and this whole thing from where she goes, "I knew I seen it, and I had to go reread the book." It's amazing. Ellie,
Yep.
tell us what you found in the past couple of days
Okay.
that gives us some more link into the relation between Trump and Cohen and Katie Johnson.
Mhm. Okay, sure. So just to back up, the Katie Johnson story has been one that's more controversial. People are more divided about it because it's very graphic and it's a very young girl. It's a 13-year-old girl. And there's lots of division, within the Epstein files about where the information came from, how valid it is. But what I will say, and we had this with the Jane Doe 4 as well, which was, a decade earlier, is these are all accompanied by FBI interviews, which, tip lines don't always get interviews. People calling in with a wild story do not always get interviews. These have FBI interviews, She was, she had a very high powered legal team. They took her seriously, and these are people who represent other survivors. So this was a very credible case. And I know there's a lot of people who really want to discredit her story. And they use lots of details, which I won't go into here, but there is a lot of credibility to her case. I'm also working right now on the Interlochen summer camp, the music summer camp that Epstein was a big part of. There were other 13-year-old kids being taken to his house, and Donald Trump was there. This is not unlikely that this happened. And so part of the story is, and part of like where this wild Michael Cohen thing started, is he was in Trump's court very deeply at that point when this case came up in 2016. He told us he hadn't heard of Epstein when he was working for Donald Trump. He didn't know anything about it. Turns out later he's talking about dropping the Katie Johnson file on Trump's desk. Still says he doesn't know a whole lot about it. Doesn't think Epstein's name was on the file. It clearly was on the court case. Like that's it's right on the front. He's talked a lot about confusing the court cases because there are more Jane Does in America than there are F-150s. He likes to say that all the time, but
Disgusting, right?
it's like you're a lawyer. There's case numbers, just like trucks have license plates. Case files have numbers. If I can look it up, a lawyer should be able to look it up. And so his big thing was, he's always said that Katie Johnson is a fake. And his big thing is he says he went to her house in the Bronx and her lawyer had never met her. He'd only talked to her by mail. And when he went to her house in the Bronx, which is sketchy in itself that he's going to a survivor's house, he said that it was just a parking lot and that nobody was there, and then the case was dismissed. We know that that is not true. She had a very high-powered legal team, which he did speak with. He did speak with Donald Trump about this case, but then he's been very hesitant to say that he knew anything about it. Well, I read a book a few years ago called Catch and Kill by Ronan Farrow, and I didn't remember this, but somebody brought it to me last night, and they said, "Have you read this chapter? It's chapter 51 in Catch and Kill, and it talks about the Katie Johnson case." And I was like, "That's wild." No, I haven't. So I went back and I listened. I have the audiobook, so I was listening to it and like typing it up because I couldn't find the transcript. And in it, they say that Michael Cohen was deeply involved. He was on the phone with his lawyers and his team about this case because it affected the president. And he was on it for hours on end on the phone talking about this case. And he
I
didn't
have
go to the
goosebumps.
Bronx. He didn't go to the Bronx to look for her. He went to California because she lived in California. That's where the case started. So they went to go find her in California. There was a house there, but there was nobody living in it because by the time they went there, whoever had lived in that house, if that was the house on record, nobody lived there. They had moved. And so it completely changes the storyline that he has said over and over and over again about
I have
thinking that her
goosebumps.
house, yeah, was a fake house in the Bronx, was a parking lot. No. And this is being reported by Ronan Farrow, who says in the article, and he and I disagree on this case. I will say that Ronan and I disagree on this case, or at least he's being very objective about it, which is fine. That's totally fine. Um, but this is information that he gathered that was never reported publicly, that he got by talking to her lawyers. Was that all of a sudden now this took place in California and not in New York, and it was a house, but she wasn't living there by that time, and he couldn't find her. But he sent people to her home to find her, and so that's what I
Y-
sent you.
Ellie, can I read that? I'm gonna. You were. I used. Can I read the quote you sent me
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
from the actual book? So
Yeah,
let
this
me
is
let folks.
directly. It's directly from Ronan's book.
This is directly from the book. Quote: But one additional curiosity was never made public. According to several AMI employees and one senior associate of Trump's Pecker, so AMI is Pecker. What was his first name?
David Pecker, isn't it? David Pecker.
David Pecker, yeah, yeah, David
Yeah.
Pecker from the Inquirer. For folks that remember, they were part of the Catch and Kill. The Inquirer would
Mhm.
find stories, pay them off. That's and we've got a lot of that in the Stormy Daniels case that came out.
Mhm.
Pecker was, so and that was AMI. Just so you guys know. So, according to several AMI employees and one senior associate of Trump's and Pecker, who was at the time in close contact with Trump, learned of the lawsuit shortly after it was filed. After that, Howard was on the phone with Cohen, Trump's personal attorney, assuring him that they would track down the woman with the rape allegations and see what they could do about her. Dylan was on the phone with Cohen at all hours about it. One of the AMI employees recalled it became a top priority, with Cohen monitoring the situation. Howard dispatched an AMI reporter to an address associated with one of the initial court filings, but the reporter found only a foreclosed home in a sleepy desert community of 29 Palms, California. A neighbor said that no one had been there since the previous fall. Oh my God, this is just, I mean, the fact, and why I'm going to tell you, forget about California, Bronx, all of this. I want
Right.
to talk to you about the facts that connect the dots here that show you that this is 100% true because knowing Cohen, knowing Trump, knowing how this would be, and this is the excerpt that is extremely important. That basically, once Trump learned of this, this became high priority.
Mm-hmm.
Cohen's version of the story, folks, is it was a nothing burger that he
Mm-hmm.
got this on his desk. He walks into Trump's office and says, "Hey, boss, there's some complaint, some nasty bad complaint about here." And Trump said, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
it's bullshit. Take care of it." And then
Yeah.
he went, took care of it. It was gone. That's Cohen's story.
Mm-hmm.
What we're hearing
Which we
here,
have on
and if
camera. We have a recording of him saying
we
that.
have, and yeah, absolutely, we
Yeah.
have a recording, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a. But here we're getting basically this is a book that was written 5 years ago, saying that after they found out, the attorney Howard was on the phone with Cohen's Trump's personal attorney, assuring him that they would track down the woman with the rape allegation and
Mm-hmm.
see what they could do about her. Now that
Yeah,
makes
isn't that
sense.
sketchy? Isn't that sketchy
But
sounding?
that's exactly, but that's exactly
Yeah.
Michael Cohen because people forgot who
Mm-hmm.
Michael Cohen was. Remember that was the fixer.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you close your eyes and think about what would happen in a situation going back 15 years or 18 years, and all of a sudden Donald Trump gets accused by a 13-year girl of rape. What's the first thing he's gonna do? Give it to his fixer.
Mm-hmm.
That's the normal thing.
Who's gonna go
So
knock on her door? Knock on a survivor's door. Like,
sick.
if they didn't take it seriously, they could file legal claims against her. They could go through all the paperwork, but he was going to go knock on her door. And he brags about this stuff. He's threatened 500 people for Donald Trump, right? He was going to go to a survivor's door and knock on a door. I don't know.
No, we need to get him under we need to get him under oath.
Hmm.
He needs to go under oath and say that he's never heard the Epstein survivors or Epstein name. I mean, this guy,
Hmm.
this is ridiculous. Folks, I want you to thank you all for joining us for this quick, important Substack that we had. We don't want to bore you with more Michael Cohen irrelevant stories. He's a disgusting human being. All of these
Hmm.
Epstein pedophile, all of these Epstein people, class as they call them, are disgusting human beings. I want to thank Ellie taking her time. She's been on vacation, and but this was important because folks, this is connecting the dots. Just think about it. This is something from 4 or 5 years ago. A book that's written has nothing to somebody that like Ellie says. Pure disclosure. They might even disagree on certain parts of the case,
Yeah.
which is normal because there's a lot of holes in this case. There's a lot of
Hmm.
different things. And that's why all of
Yeah.
these conspiracy theorists, and this is why all of these people that are trying to protect Trump and Cohen, they use these holes and they use these. But
Hmm.
what about that? What about that? But if you
Hmm.
take away all of that and use your just common sense, and you take a look at what we've been saying to you, what Ellie's been saying to you, what I've been saying to you, what Farrow wrote in the book, what you know about Michael Cohen himself and his history, what Michael Cohen himself said to you, he was his fixer and how he would do intimidate people, and Donald Trump himself said it to you. So if you take all of those words and understand and say to yourself, what would happen if in the year 2015, 16, this is right before the election. This is when Michael Cohen
Hmm.
came out and said, I will take a bullet for this man. Remember that?
Hmm.
And all of a sudden, a week before the elections, there's a case dropped by a 13-year-old girl accusing Donald Trump and
Hmm.
Epstein of rape. You
Yeah.
don't think this would be 911 in the Trump organization? Well, I
Yeah.
believe what Ronan Farrow wrote in that book. I believe that
Yeah.
because knowing these people, that's exact. If I close my eyes, this is exactly what I would tell you, word for happen. Cohen would be on it. They would be discussing how to find these people, how to take care of them, even the words that are being used in that. So anyway,
Yeah.
folks, I we don't want to bore you with just Michael Koser, but this is important because This links them. The Katie Johnson case, we're not going to leave alone. With me, Ellie, and others out here, we're going to make sure that we get to the bottom of this, and we're going to try to get justice for Katie, wherever you are. Hopefully, Katie, maybe you're listening to us, because I hope you are, so, out there listening. You know that we are fighting, and we have a huge community out here of a lot of people that are out there fighting to get the truth
Right.
out and to make sure Cohen, Trump don't get a chance to bury it. So, folks, I ask
Yeah.
all of you on behalf of that, please make sure you go subscribe to Ellie Leonard. And make sure, if you can, become a paid subscriber. This is a true
Hmm.
independent investigative journalist. And there's her. Thank you, Nick, for putting up
Thanks,
the
guys.
QR code. Scan that. If you haven't yet, subscribe, become a paid subscriber. This is true independent journalism. This is no big corporate. This is a mom that's out there working, and look at how she's connecting the dots.
Hmm.
You don't hear this information anywhere, folks. Midas Touch is not reporting this. None of the big platforms, the media, everybody, they forgot about this. Nobody even wants to talk about Michael Cohen, but it's not about Michael Cohen, and it's not about Donald Trump. This is about Katie Johnson. This is about a 13-year-old girl that needs justice. This is about the Epstein survivors, and this is why this
Hmm.
story will not go. Well, we will not allow it to die, and we're only getting started. Michael Cohen, and I know you're definitely listening, and Donald Trump, and I know you're definitely listening.
Hmm.
Your time is coming. Katie Johnson will get her, and Ellie will help me. Do you see that? Your time is coming. So, on that note, folks, I wish you an incredible day. Ellie, go spend time with your kids.
Thanks.
Forget about all this craziness. Take some time off. All of
All
you,
right.
we love you. Thank you for the support. If you can't, and if you haven't yet, make sure go hit that button, cross pollinate, subscribe to me and Ellie, and we're going to bring you. We have a lot more coming. Thank you, guys. Have
All
a
right.
great night.
Thanks,
Take
guys.
care.
Bye, love.